backside of the zone, things get really, really shaky. You can see now they're doing their best from the zone transition, but it's going to be hard. They need to find something, and soon using some shields, trying to out-heal it for a moment. And that might actually pay off for them, as only one player now needs to go down in order for the surge to stop ticking. We're down to 30. They are good. They remain, but they're on wood and they get dropped down. They need to be careful. They need to find a sense of balance, a sense of control. And this isn't good at all. Ryzen's gone down. twtich now going to have to solo clutch. And as a solo with not much to work with, things will get very difficult very quickly. Queasy and Hen up on height. That's where they want to be. But it's all in the hands of twtich now if he wants any chance of keeping his team in first place.
He has that torch, he's still riding with it, but only 100 mats separate him from certain demise. Meanwhile, Vidil finally cleaned out, so the power push, the type of big playmaker is not going to be here towards this end game. It'll be a little bit more calmer, quiet. That's exactly what twtich wants for the moment. Meanwhile, Hen and Queasy all the way up top. They're trying to drop down as much pressure as possible. twtich goes for a spray and picks up a huge one on the pink. He's gonna have so much more to work with now. The entire pressure and tarp that pink had, plus his mats, plus a few heals, and that crucial med spray.
Yeah, he's doing really well here. As we said, on that backside of the zone, it means that there's so many players ahead of him, but using that med whisk to great use. Gonna just play the zone, and this is actually brilliant from him, realizing he can buy his team a bit more time, stay in the game as long as possible, just wait for players to slowly dwindle. Eventually there will come a time where he has to hit some crucial shots. He's not got a shotgun in his inventory, so we'll have to build the SMG, and if he's not careful he might run into Rescard in just a moment. Oh dear, this gets really difficult. Yep, he will go down. Rescard will take him out. A valiant effort from twtich, but the first place team will go down. Cammy and Teak though still remain, and they've managed to find control. They dealt with their surge issues and they got to what they do best, sitting here on the mid ground with absolute control. Teak, you can see him as Cammy just tarps ahead, looking for opportunities to try get some eliminations. Hen and Queasy doing brilliantly on height. Cammy and Teak sitting fantastically in mid ground, and all the teams below them now going to be struggling to find any sort of hope in this game. Brilliant use there of the armored wall to add that extra layer of protection, and you can see they have their eyes set on all the players scurrying down below them.
This is just a simple lounge fest for Teak and Cammy all the way to first. They just have to be able to stay alive. Still in second overall though right now. You can see it on the left side, and now the pressure is coming in. No time for the guzzle juice to be popped. Teak will go down momentarily. He's gone. Cammy, right before they can take that first place slot, they will be denied. Queasy up top. The pressure's too much. Orion from the other side is gonna look for a big jump up, but he's denied too. And now we go for the classic 2-on-2, but Hen's dropped first. He's gonna be in a 1v2. He's gonna be almost taken out immediately, but no, jumps all the way back up and he is safe. A lot of mats for Queasy and Hen to work with as this one becomes a slow burn towards the end side.
Yeah, this is really, really interesting. See Queasy, so many splashes, and they know that they can play the waiting game. Hen will go down and try and do as much damage as he can. And you can see the players below them realizing that they're just going to wait them out. And so they're trying to force the issue. Queasy ultimately on high, just going to sit here and keep it calm. Hen will go down, and that gives the other team his siphon, but Queasy is not going to worry. He's going to just play in the back of the zone, use these splashes all day long. Don't know how he accrued them, but it doesn't matter because they get the victory royale. From Sleepy Sound to this win. Brilliant stuff from them. Chilled on height and closed it out with a heal off. Something we don't see much of so far this season, but a heal off in game 2 ain't too bad, Shy.
Yeah, I mean, why didn't twtich have any splashes? Where were Marines? Where were all the quick heals? In Queasy's inventory. This man is a thief. He stole them all, and he had them on high ground. 18 splashes, only used 3. Kind of a big flex there for him. But what a game from the high ground team.
Yeah, Queasy and Hen, one of the strongest teams so far this form as well. And coming out and getting that win is huge for the standings. Can't wait to see what they do with it. But look, we want to see what happened. How did Queasy have so many splashes? We'll toss it over to the desk to break it all down.
18 splashes. Well, apparently they cornered the market on splashes. That was it. We're never going to see another splash in the rest of these remaining games. That's it. It just belongs to them entirely. I'm not even sure how this happened. Maybe it was impact eliminations, right? Maybe they're moving along the mid and low grounds and they're saying, look, if we can find these eliminations, oh, that person has one, no problem. I have a stack of one in my inventory and I'm walking over them, just kind of scooping them all up. But I mean, when you have 18, Reese, I feel like that's going to pretty much be it. As long as you're not making any critical mistakes, you're going to be able to outlive the storm.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this game, they didn't make the critical mistake that they made in game number 1. They took height at exactly the same time, that second moving zone when it comes to the end game. But in the previous game, game number 1, we saw Reason and Vidil go up, crank up, and unfortunately take that high ground from Hen and Queasy. Well, unfortunately, you know, depending on which way you want to look at it, of course. This game, obviously, they were managed to maintain it all the way from that way up. They managed to keep that high ground and managed to pop off from there on out. Because, look, this is what's ended up happening to Reason and Vidil down below. They're the ones at that moment who can't frag out, can't go up to the high ground because they're being pressured, because they're getting fragged by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, this is also an interesting game to look at. I mean, I don't think we see heal-offs and duos at all, and this is ridiculous, though. 18 chug splashes, there's almost a guaranteed win, and I think this has to do more than likely with the zones. I mean, we had a rocky view zone last game, which means that Vidil and Reason had a very good game, very easy rotation, but this time, it was all the way north, over towards Logjam, and you know, Hen and Queasy, they land at Sleepy Sound, which means that they have to rotate pretty much, you know, a few hundred meters, and you know, that's what you see. Everyone that gets zoned, they do pretty well, and that makes a lot of sense though, because these are very dangerous rotates. They're high fire rate weapons. You don't have much mobility in the mid game, and if you do get zoned, you're going to be rewarded. And Hen and Queasy, they are not going to give up that opportunity, and that is a free win for them.
Yeah, absolutely not. One of the more like minor things I really want to pick up on though was Phoenix, who you can now see is up in first alongside Raisin. Managed to use that mid miss to get himself from 15th place all the way up to 10th, which is 5 more additional placement thresholds in game, so a bunch more points. And without that, like, they would be behind Cammy and Teak right now. So the mid mist coming in clutch for them. Second place, Cammy and Teak, no surprise at all, fragging out 2 games in a row, being super consistent to get deep into the end games. And our previous game's winner, Hen and Queasy, now in 3rd place. We're in 20th before that, so they've moved up 17 places in the leaderboard. A huge swing in things.
Yep, I mean, Cammy and Teak, I mean, they're up there in eliminations with people. I mean, this is a little bit surprising. We don't expect them to be that aggressive of a duo, but they're up there. 2nd place with 77 points in total. And like I said in my prediction, I mean, these guys are just so consistent. I mean, they got a 3rd place in the first game, 4th place this game. They're here to play. They're ridiculous.
Absolutely. And Phoenix, sorry if we are saying it wrong. If you know, feel free to tweet at us and let us know what the correct is. We're going to just go with Phoenix. Sounds right. Let's shoot. Let's go. But you know where else we're going? It's back in the game. We got Shy Wager. We got 11-2K. Friends, over to you.
I mean, I feel like it has to be Phoenix and Ryzen, right? Because Phoenix rises, it's just synergy. It has to be. I mean, that's what I want to stamp on it, at least, Levin. And they're playing phenomenally today.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less from you, I'll be real. Look, let's get right back into it. Let's see if they can do that again and get themselves to remain in 1st place. We got the 3rd game coming up for you right about now.
Here we go. The halfway point starts now for the EU region in FNCS Chapter 3 Season 1, and we'll see exactly where people end up dropping off. Swilliam, Clement, both on your screen. Both players that have had some struggles in the early game. We asked about redemption before. Now it's just about a desperate retake kind of their destiny in this tournament. Can they really get onto the board, or are they be forever just lost kind of in that top 15, bottom 20?
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, it doesn't seem like Clement had a great drop there, but, you know, they still sort of outdropped them. It's interesting that they keep sort of pivoting towards this 50-50. You know, I wonder, right, 3 games in, when will maybe you change your mind on that? Instantly, Floki doing a bit of damage, but receiving some himself as well. So, needs to make sure he doesn't get too overzealous. We saw last game, Swilliam and Letshi, it came down to them just missing some key shots. And I told you that I wouldn't bank on that happening again, so as both teams now will take some time to get their materials up, get their loot up a bit. We may see a bit more of an even fight now play out, but of course you've got to remember that as much as this fight will happen, you also have Kylie and Fastroki on the lurk, looking to try get in and 3rd party whenever that opportunity arises.
Whenever there's like a triangle type of situation, I don't feel like anyone really wins, or it's just so hard to plan for. There's no fairness, it feels like, when it's a 3-way fight. Someone always ends up getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those situations that Boop was talking about pre-show, where all teams sort of claiming their ground. a fight doesn't necessarily have to break out there. You can maybe just take things a bit slower. Pablo will definitely be wanting to take things slower here because he's taking a bit of damage. That we're at 1-2. Just north of Logjam, where we are right now. Last game sort of finished in this area, but as we start here, Pablo will hit a nice little shot onto Mirza. Left-hand peek isn't the most optimal angle, but he makes great use of it there. And this is really nice. Looking for some control, making sure that they have the exit control as well on the pieces. And Pablo doing really well with those left-hand shots again. Mirza and Lysen just getting absolutely wrangled there. As Swag will pick up one. And so in a 2v1, Pablo hitting a key shot, but he actually goes down. So now we're down to a 1v1. Mirza's done brilliantly there. Oh dear. Swag, what can he do? All alone. Will he have time to get the res? It seems like it, actually.
This is such a lopsided type fight, like not getting a finish on a knockdown player. At the same time, 2v1, yet one person getting knocked. These things shouldn't be happening. Now that res has to be sticked in. There's no time to get off of it. The 50-50 mind games back and forth. The pickaxe coming in 3 seconds for Swag to stick it through, and Pablo ends up staying alive. This shouldn't even be allowed.
Yeah. I don't know how he's done it. He's gotten the res off. And so Lysen, who was doing a brilliant job to keep his team in this one, now not looking too great. It's a good shot there, but ultimately, with such low HP, Swag and Pablo will deal with him. The Flames boys come away with the win here. And that's exactly what they want coming into game 3. Maybe made it a bit more difficult for themselves, but ultimately, the most important thing is that they win at Osborne.
That's the first few points for them on the board. 6 rolling in. Right now, Mariah and Rifla, I think they're 6th place overall coming into this game. And I'm always doing my double check thing on the side. We can literally just see Team 6 above Rifle's name and fully confirm. I gotta drop the old habits, man. This is so convenient. I love it. And they're still going to be pressuring. This is the one thing I like about teams in the lead. You know, you don't change how you're playing entirely, especially during the midpoint of the competition. You see some inexperienced teams come in, previous FNCSs, they get first overall in the first few games, right, Levin? And then they just change things up entirely, become so much more passive, and they wonder, why did the games change? Where are our points going? Not the same team that got first in the first few games.
Yeah, this is one of them situations where, you know, you got a lot of these teams who really want to try and make sure that they can replicate the success of former games. As we take a look at some of the replays, over at the Joneses, things going down. Wouldn't expect anything else. Oh, Nixon, that's a nice little shot. We saw this fight just a moment ago. Swag did well, though, to close things out. And that's the story of Osborne fighting in Fortnite, right? You know, it can be so brutal if you're on that losing side.
For game number 3 as well, the checklist for a lot of players, this might be the last time they try a certain strat before going on the back end or to plan B, so things might be even more desperate overall. Maybe this is why Rifle and Marine are really trying to push people around their spot, right? If they win a fight a 3rd time in a row, it might be a signal for the enemy team they're facing to choose a completely different spot, and now they have the back half of the competition bolstered up, an entire POI to themselves, houses, chests they didn't have before to go even further. Throon, though, for the big shot, he's going to stay all the way low ground in the basement.
Yeah, this is nice. You can see Rifle and Marine taking up different positions either side of these two, forcing them to make a decision as they look to pincer in. Some really nice fighting mechanics. They're going to just play it slow though in the meantime. But Marine, been one of the better players as well in this lobby so far. Rifler with him by his side. Now they're just going to choose to dip. Taking a bit too long for their liking. So they'll get away just there. Cthulhu will live to see another day.
One thing I'm liking a lot about this new map is the introduction of a lot of spots like this. You know, you might not have named POIs entirely, but you have a lot of base camps set up that have somewhat of, you know, henchman type chests, some buffed up chests at the same time, campfires. You have the spreading of coolers around the map as well as those produce boxes. Lots of ways for people to get their game started if, you know, off spawn doesn't work out too well. I wanted an insight though to Queasy and Hen. you know, Sleepy Sound looking really good for them overall. I feel like anyone that starts off on this spot 11 has such a huge advantage over everyone else.
Yeah, this POI is great, right? They're able to get max materials, a really good chunk of metal at this POI, which can be a problem for some teams. They can leave if they want to with a Whiplash. They're sticking with their truck for the meantime. He's got some peppers, plenty of produce boxes over towards the north side of Sleepy. The one thing I will say though, right, if you have watched any of their Cash Cup games, they have often struggled with more southern zones. And as you can see, they are heading to a south zone. So we'll see how our third place team does. Of course, Boop emphasizing in that little break there how just important it is, right, for teams to pull zones, as much as there's plenty of strategy and preparation that goes into it, especially early on in this FNCS. We are seeing that when teams don't pull zones favorable to their POIs, there can be a bit of a struggle there as they try to traverse and rotate through. And that's only going to get more difficult in these FNCS lobbies, so we'll see how teams deal with that. This, though, is one of the zones which probably will encourage teams to go through tilted, right? We talked about how certain zones means that, you know, maybe the tilted players have a bit more time isolated and tilted without any teams interfering. But with this zone, you're going to expect a lot of teams to be coming through here. And our first place team is going to be one of them.
Wow, nothing can go wrong if you're just rotating through tilted in first, right? Surely there's not going to be a disaster that happens when you're in one of the hottest spots of the map that everyone has to rotate through. It's very good to stay here for as long as possible and not move out of the POI. Phoenix and Ryzen know exactly what I'm talking about. So quickly they move towards the outskirts and on the left side as well. Wow, I like the shot too. Back down to Rocky Reels. It feels like I'm having deja vu from the first game on how this one goes. And if that's the case, Levin, I mean, Phoenix and Ryzen, it's paradise for them.
Yeah, look, for a lot of those north teams, they will be happy you didn't pull all the way south, right? When you have a zone that pulls that far south for the first zone, typically you would expect it maybe to pull a bit further down, but fortunately it's sort of just plop in the middle there. And so it's a bit more of an even playing field for a lot of the teams around the map. Some technical difficulties there with the vehicle. Things happen.
One thing I'm noticing with Phoenix and Ryzen as well is that they're a very on-guard duo 24/7. A lot of the times when you see a few duos play, they have moments where they let their guard down. They don't maybe build as much. They don't invest too much into where they are. They stay maybe at 75 or 50 shield to see if they can get a siphon or any extra greed along the way. They're on guard a lot, which makes it so that they are a little bit less resourceful the entire time. They might not have, you know, a full inventory as you see right now. Their mats might be down entirely. But it feels like playing that ultimate defense, Levin, is working out really well for them in the first two games.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of it will come down to how, you know, they're able to play these zones out and the sort of decision-making that they make. But they've done a decent job thus far. Of course, that first game really was sort of the one that's keeping them up in first. Second game was a bit more of a struggle. But for the meantime, they still have options. Like you sort of alluded to, though, it's not perfect right now. They're going to need a refresh. They're going to need to do something to get their materials up. Not many options in terms of farming potential right now around them. And so they're going to have to make some sort of a power play at some point. Maybe they don't need to force the issue now, but 58 builds in Phoenix, just not going to be good enough moving forward.
Yeah, inventory slots down. I feel like before they were also tagging along on high points to many different fights and coming in and cleaning up after the fact. This time they're absolutely low ground. They're surrounded by builds and buildings. It looks like they don't have a say as much in this game. Talk about a say though, Hen, for the moment, is kind of dictating how this lobby gets to play. 8 total elims throughout the day right now. That is a huge number for a, you know, final round type qualifier lobby. That's like something that's not usually common for every player to have. And for him, I mean, you get high ground, what, almost 3 games in a row? It has to be that way, right?
Yeah, and look, when he has Queasy leading the way for him, you know, he's got excellent direction. My biggest fear with this duo, with any duo that Queasy's in, is as much as he's a brilliant mind, will there be enough firepower in the duo for them to be successful? And I think with Hen, there's never any doubts about that. So, look, they're going to have to do a Surge. Hopefully they don't prove me wrong here, or prove me right, sorry. But you can see the idea behind it right now, realizing that dead side of zone, not going to be many players in this vicinity. If we can take a bit of an isolated fight against Amplify and Flodax, we'll be able to deal with our Surge issues. And this is really nice because they've just taken the whole flank round. And they're actually going to use the builds that Amplify and Flodax put down to pinch their way in. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at the setup. Queasy distracting them. Hen coming from the back, hits 31. Would have wanted a bit more, but this is brilliant. Amplified down. Flodax now left alone. Oh, this is what it's all about right now, Shayo.
This is just ridiculous. I haven't seen a pinch like that. That slow, thought out fundamental since, you know, watching Zayn at Loot Lake just trap teams who just end up landing in, not knowing exactly what they're doing. They make a seasoned veteran like Amplify look absolutely clueless in that circumstance and that aspect. And that is just crazy from Queasy and Hen. They just lock it down. We're talking about trouble with Surge, 367 above now. They're just here to entertain us, Levin. They were not worried for a single moment.
I love it. I love it. You saw the intention there. You saw Hen sneaking up and around. He knew what he was doing. I'm sure we all would have wanted to be in his position, ready to just put your finger on the trigger and let loose. But you can see now, from being below on Surge, 327 above. And it's plays like that, right, that can just really sort of sort you out. But you saw how creative they got and how successful it was in the end. A beautiful play, and now we're going to have to see something beautiful from Horizon and Phoenix, as they just look to take a standard box fight. We all take these, but in these sort of environments, they get really difficult. 43 above, but they won't be satisfied, and so they'll see if they can do a bit more damage. They can hear the other players looking to use shields, so they know they're low. There is a bit of a ticking time bomb there.
Specifically, though, right now, even if you take into account Surge, you take into account their health bar, it kind of looks like the main issue for them is a health bar you guys can't really see, or doesn't look like one at the moment. It's their resources overall. Missing a few inventory slots. We tuned out with them. They had about 58 total builds on Phoenix. Now it's down to 38. So they are dwindling on that aspect fast. And you could be 100 100. You could be 700 and 700 shields and health even, right? But if you don't have materials, if you don't have weapons to clap back, ammunition, shields, it doesn't matter. The lobby will eat you alive. So those mats, very important. And now Phoenix will start to run away. Ryzen actually leading everything. They get to this building, they can't farm everything out supremely. The metal will be everlasting, kind of. There's not much really to find inside except for a few vending machines or boxes you can get maybe +4, +5 from. They'll be able to get their, you know, their wooden brick topped off completely. Vortex and Janus actually being taken out by DKS in the air almost. It looked like maybe a Spider-Man mishap, and it's Cammy and Teak that get the loot from them, which is crazy. Is that a Mythic MK7?
Yes, it is. You know, they're able to claim that from their POI. The boys talked about on the pre-show. And they put it to good use as well. We talked about how they've done a decent job of being able to get some eliminations so far in this game, 6 and 3 respectively. So yeah, not the Mythic, but still, you know, they're going to put that to great use. It's funny because where they are on the map, they basically just haven't had to move basically the whole game, right? This is sort of the general area of their split. So you look at some of the things you missed. Kiriachi here, doing well to hold off with the stare. Stormy Rat picks up an elimination as well. Those two, talk about firepower, they have it all.
I felt like I was watching like a trash compactor though, you know what I mean? That was kind of messy in terms of builds. They're on low ground, armored walls all around them. Even though they're lethal, they're a full fire force. I feel like a lot of the fights we're starting to watch in like game 3, maybe even game 4, might be a little bit too desperate, not as organized. But then also, we saw the Hen and Queasy pinch breakdown. That was just great. Definitely some teams still in control. Kiriachi needs to find some med mist, a med... Because they're going to either have to fly, it looks like no, for now, just run into a zone. It might just be about 50, 60 meters overall, but with, what, 10, 20 teams around them, even one little mishap will just have that HP bar deleted.
Yeah, this is going to get rough for them. They've been pretty consistent thus far, sitting in 6th place, as you can see, so they want to keep that up. But like you said, it's going to be an uphill battle again, right? We keep emphasizing this, but you know, this game is all about resource management to a degree, and so when you don't have those resources, all you got to do is, all you're spending your time thinking about, I should say, is how you can get them and how you can put yourself in a position to be able to make it through some of the most difficult zones towards the end of the game.
We keep saying uphill battle. When does the downhill start? Is it even a hill that we're talking about right now? Because it just seems like some of these teams never get to enjoy the, you know, wee part of the roller coaster when you're going down. They're just going up forever, complete anxiety.
It's more like running into a brick wall, if anything, right? Just very, very difficult. I'd be surprised if Queasy didn't farm that brick. Yeah, I was about to say.
stay on top of it. That'd be the worst ride, though. Just imagine only going up and then having to just, I don't know, walk down. That's what it feels like for some of these teams. Let's see that perspective. Just the upwards roller coaster. Hold up. Phoenix and Horizon. Is this where they get their siphon? Might just be. That's how it happens. So they're staying low key. Everything looks absolutely disastrous. And they're like, hey, let's just pad in on some boys. Get the loot.
But that's what we talked about, right? In terms of being able to make those kind of power plays. And that right there was a brilliant power play. They find a team which, you know, was caught unawares, confined to just, what, 1-2 boxes. And they got in. And we know that with this season, the Striker SMG, 2 players coming at you with that, it can be very difficult to deal with. And so they're barely above on Surge, but they can deal with Surge. We know that. What's the biggest advantage for them now is the fact that they're looking real good on the materials. Phoenix, their 147 builds, nearly maxed out. That's where they want to be right now.
I think ammunition might be an issue, though. Never mind, they just got split like, what, 1,000 AR almost? Or Toos and Pushik sitting on there. That was just an insane amount of ammo. I'm surprised they got caught out that hard, but that's what happens when there's a little bit of mispositioning. All good, though. Stormy Red Kuriachi, this is their all-in. This is their perspective that we just saw from Phoenix and Horizon, but on a different side of the map. They need to find the same type of refresh, or they're just knocked out of this game.
Yeah, they need to come up with something huge here. But it's a lot easier said than done. You can see their players fighting them on the edge of the zone, and their backs against the walls, and they will be crushed. Vino and Joe do brilliantly to take them out, and that's going to be the 6th place team down and out. Unfortunate, but that's what happens sometimes when you are scuffed and you're desperate.
Gonna be a little bit of stuff desperation from Ryzen and Phoenix as well. We just saw them get so much good loot, lots of shields, and they were looking good when they got it too. Now just getting into this portion of the zone, it's cost them so much, and they're getting focused. I'm looking for armored walls from either one of them, but they don't have that at all for this rotation. Not having that utility specifically in this season might just prove disastrous, but they have a little bit of the sightline cut off. Ramp put down. Phoenix, though, doesn't even care about the 4s up top. Look at them. Still aggressive as they move. They're not scared. They're not psyched out from being all the way in first place. Still playing how they should. They'll try to get in. Cammy and Teak right behind them, getting bombarded with surge shots and the pressure from moving inside to the zone. This is going to be bad, but you can count on Cammy to get a last-second beam. He gets a little bit in there. Surge finally ticks down. They know they're still in trouble. They have to find a bit more, and there is a package waiting slightly inside the zone. They might go for it too. That's another pad they can have. 3 pads, 11 for this end game. Should secure Cammy and Teak. I would say even a shot at first place after this one.
Yeah, this could be a really huge game for them. They're really great at making rotations and finding dead side of zone and getting in really cleanly. But now with this many pads to sort of make that an easier ride for them, it's wraps. First movement is going to pull towards west. All the teams now trying to get up to that 6th zone. And this team has all the options. They've got the Whiplash, some peppers, some launch pads. Literally couldn't ask for more.
I think the worst part about it, though, it's like, you know, carrying in the groceries in one trip. You have a little bit too much to hold on to. Well, Cammy gets psyched out, trip, the bags rip, and then, you know, literally all the food's gone. He's got 3 launch pads. You got to make sure you use them at the best time. Squeezy and Hen actually forced out one as well. Might not have any of their own, but they have the position, and it's always the best one on the entire zone. They'll look to pinch the entire lobby, it seems like right now, too. Squeezy denied access to the box, but now they have height once again, cranking straight up to the sky. It's too easy today for Queasy and Hen.
Yeah, you saw how ready they were as well. Made sure to pepper before they padded. As soon as they landed, they could quickly 90 their way on up. And everybody else knows this is Queasy and Hen's height. They're going to just cover the zone now and look to try and get as many eliminations as possible. Phoenix and Ryzen will go down, though. And so first place really is going to be... There are a couple of these big teams looking to get it. Cammy and Teak, who looked like they were in such a strong position before, now looking a bit more desperate. Teak down to bare bones. Cammy as well needs to try and provide some space and time for his teammate. Teak, though, looking to get right back in. Even with his low HP, he knows, look, let's get a refresh. We're down on Surge. We're 8 below. Let's do some damage. He won't be able to outlive this too long, so the desperation's really kicked in, but there are players on low ground for them to capitalize on, and Cammy will do just that. Takes down Michael. As now time gets to go in. They got to move. Teak doesn't have many options. It's really rough for him. His loadout isn't looking the greatest. But for the meantime, no Riley, Aqua, a team who we know usually will be dominant on high ground, not going to have that option right now. They're chilling close to it though. They'll keep their eyes on it, look for any opportunity to try and take it for their own. But they've got to be careful because they've not got much resources to work with, and they've got players who are looking at them. The Spider-Man will come through, and O'Reilly will move to the front of zone, and this gives them a bit more time to figure out their plan.
Kemi and Teak, though, they secure it without even the use of any one extra launch pad. They're in the center point of zone, and Us on the right side going to be just brawling out side by side. Not sure if he took out anyone. No, both beams still alive in the sky. No Riley, Aqua, they go toe-to-toe, box-to-box with Julex. He goes down. The third POV from the backside is going to be a trap, a pitfall. Quicksand for them in the box, and they can't breathe. They get taken out. Kemi and Teak, though, somehow still alive, powered through 5 different duos in second place for the entire day. Now, hold that torch at the very front portion of the lobby. They're looking back and beaming still. Does Kemi have even more pads? How many mats do they have to deal with? It doesn't matter because they're bullying everyone down below. Flames extinguished on the grass as Teak gets out swag and gets that full elimination as well. They are making sure no one's allowed to be behind them. Just blazing a trail as they control mid-ground. The pepper here too for Teak to get fast, but he's focused on the shot. That's another one. And both players still alive. The focus here is this low ground. They might be taken out, but they go down with a big message.
Yeah, they had low ground on lock there, even though they were on mid ground. They eventually go down. But in terms of who really has stakes in this game, who really has a chance to win it, it looks like Mr. J and Wolfie will sit above everybody else. They are going to look to take some shots at players below them. But Ryan, all alone as a solo, he now has a difficult task with no materials. This is the worst position to be in, and he'll be sent right back to the lobby. But you can see Refscar down below looking to try and make his way up himself with no materials. But he hits a crazy shot, and he hits another crazy shot. How's Refscar done this? Refscar, you can't do this as a solo. You can't keep hitting these crazy shots. He will eventually fall as well. But on the way out, he hit some really, really big right hands. And so DKS now, who's done a brilliant job with his teammate, Bad Sniper, all alone, the 4th place team, he sees players on the other side of that wall. He tries to manipulate it, hits, misses the shot, I should say, and he can't afford to miss too many more. Finally connects with one, and he's dancing around them, but eventually will be put to an end. I can't believe this has actually just happened. Wolfie and Lucky Mr. J have not had much to do above. Only 3 eliminations. Everything just sort of unfolded below them, Shayo. But this is where they can really get their points at. 2 more players left alive, and they know what they need to do, using those SMGs to really just force them into an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, the pressure from DKS, you can still see it on the health bars of Frey and Kidwo down below. 70 HP. If there's a shotgun or maybe even half a second of SMG spray, it's wraps for either player here right now. They have to play this perfectly. They have the materials to stay alive for now and pick up a few more. Spider-Man web shooter inside the inventory, a possibility of a high ground take. The ground is getting even closer, squishing all players side by side. Kidwo finding a little bit of room. No, it's spray that's actually building out now. 20 mats on as the sprays still come up from above. Wolfie, Mr. J, they do not want to let go! A big boom, explosion, fire all around, chaos down on low ground. Do Wolfie and Mr. J have the temperament to stay alive, though? They do, and that is a good enough shot, that is a good enough play to win them that victory royale.
That is what you want to do. They weren't necessarily the team going into that endgame that you would think had a brilliant chance of winning it. But when the time came, they snuck up on height and they took it for their own and they used it to win the game. 3 games in a row, 3 height teams winning it out. Refsguard making life difficult for those on low ground, but eventually gets taken out from the monsters above. That's what you want to do. You can see what it means to him. He can't even believe it himself. Wolfie, Lucky Mr. J, to win game 3 of qualifier 1 in an emphatic fashion as well.
Absolutely. The name of that game is just explosive. The day ended off with a boom. I'm trying to see the aftershock on the desk. Boys, how does it look after that one? What are the standings like?
We'll get there in just a moment, Shia Wager. My goodness, just to be able to see Mr. Lucky J's reaction there in those final moments. My goodness.
Love that.
You know, Reese, they just had it on lock. They denied Anas and Pink there. They managed to take away the high ground, and with the Spider-Man web shoes, they come up and they say, no, we want high ground. We know what we need to do to win out a game. Textbook from the duo.